I'm JAIRUS of all trades, master of none, and today we're going to talk about what it takes to build Iron Man, because I'm going to make it, at least one little piece. Before I get started in this build process, I wanted to talk about if Iron Man is actually feasible to build. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to do this on the internet, and you can watch lots of videos of people building all sorts of different things that relate to Iron Man. The HACKSMITH is one of them. He's building actual functional pieces, and they're fantastic. But what does it take to make an actual Iron Man? Maybe we should think about what Iron Man can actually do to see if it's feasible. So let's concentrate on the first issue with Iron Man. Iron Man has an immense power source in his arc reactor that allows him to be able to use this suit to do all kinds of things that are just completely unbelievable. It's a fusion reactor, or at least that's what people say it is because it's a plasma ring. Anyway, the point is he has basically the power of the sun in his chest. It's a lot. So pretty much anything is possible. The first issue with Iron Man that's completely unrealistic is his ability to fly. So in what I'm going to concentrate on, which is this one scene, I'll put a little clip of it here on the screen somewhere that you can watch. He can't necessarily fly with these repulsor jet things that are in his palms and his back and his feet and all that stuff. It's not possible. You actually have to move something to cause something to move in the other direction. It's laws of physics. It's pretty simple. Nothing comes out of them. If it is lasers or if it is just energy, he has to move an amount of mass with a speed that's equivalent to his mass and speed moving the other direction. It's basically not realistic. But we're not going to try to make a flight system. The HACKSMITH is going to do that.
You're probably wondering, what is this bracket even for? As for these guys, this is an electric ducted fan, which we'll be using for the Iron Man Flight System Mark II.
What we're going to talk about is whether the suit itself could protect him and be as destructive and such a force that it shows in the movie from that clip. So the first part that we have to talk about is the actual ability of the suit. Now, Iron Man weighs about 240 pounds, the suit Iron Man. Tony Stark inside, according to Marvel Directory, weighs about 220 pounds, giving him an overall weight of 460 pounds. In the clip, he gets shot by an anti-aircraft gun, which has roughly 293 tons of energy hitting him. Anti-aircraft rounds can travel as fast as 3,000 feet per second muzzle velocity and weigh as much as 20 pounds. Saying that Iron Man got hit with something that's 2 pounds or less at less than 2,500 feet per second is really giving him the benefit of the doubt. This is from looking up all different types of anti-aircraft guns and what it could potentially be. Now, a lot of anti-aircraft guns also use 50 caliber rounds, which carry roughly 30 tons of kinetic energy slamming into them. It's a lot. So supposing that Marvel is correct in that he can overpower every single electric motor in the suit to hold all joints static, he's a rigid object when he's impacted by this round. Rigid transference of force. You know what I'm saying? And this round traveling at roughly 2,500 feet per second ends up giving him an instant acceleration from 0, because he gets shot in the side, to roughly 7.3 miles an hour. It's really ultra generous to say that the anti-tank round weighs so little that it changes his speed by 7.5 miles an hour, but we're going to go with that because it could be smaller. But most likely it's bigger. Technically, the motors would still move some. He would probably get knocked out. So him falling out of the sky and not being injured is a product of the suit not being damaged whatsoever, which is completely unrealistic. So if you want to see what happens when you shoot titanium with different types of rounds, check out Demolition Ranch. He did an amazing video, links in the description. That way you can watch that and see what actually happens when you shoot an armor plate of titanium, and his plate that he shoots is over an inch thick, I believe, and it doesn't stand up to it. Eventually, you'll see what I'm talking about. Go watch his video, that way you know. Iron Man's suit is basically paper thin. There's no way it could stand up to that type of round hitting him. When the projectile hits Iron Man, it contacts an area the size of the tip of the projectile. It's absolutely tiny, and it would crush right through the armor. He did. But nonetheless, he gets knocked out. He falls to the ground. When he slams into the ground, he leaves a crater. If you watch him fall into the ground, he's got to be going somewhere, according to the math that I did, between 200 and 440 miles per hour. It's a lot. Now, between that range, you're looking at an impact that is unrealistic for a human because a human's terminal velocity average is about 120 miles per hour. You hit the ground at that speed and you're dead. You are dead. Deader than dead. It's going to kill you. Now, with him weighing 460 pounds, having a higher terminal velocity between 200 and 400 some miles per hour, that means that he's going to smash the ground at a much higher rate of speed. We're going to assume that there's a constant deceleration in that section where he impacts the ground. And that deceleration is what matters. Constant deceleration over 1.5 meters from 200 miles an hour equals 0.035577 seconds. That's nothing. The suit cannot reduce the amount of G-forces that his body experiences. So even if the suit can withstand the impact, he cannot. So let's talk about what will attribute to him making a crater and sinking into the ground and slowing down. First, the soil will compact. So as he moves through the ground, you will have compaction, which increases the rate of deceleration. So the lowest possible G-force at 200 miles an hour with constant rate of deceleration nets you 270 Gs, roughly. 270 Gs? Do you know how insane that is? The human body can only sustain 3 for an extended period of time. And we'll talk about how realistic that is in a moment. But there's also confining pressure of the soil. So as he depresses the ground and creates a crater, the angle of repose of the dirt increases the confining pressure of the dirt below him, which increases the compaction. So it would roughly be a rate of deceleration that's exponential as he enters the soil, or the dirt, or the rock, or whatever he's slamming into. So as that happens, the G-forces will increase as he comes to a stop. Super dead. Let's assume he went 1.5 meters into the ground, and if that is true, if he was going over 400 miles an hour, he's well over 1,000 Gs on impact if it's a constant rate of deceleration. It's a lot. If that's true, he's obliterated to nothing, turning to water. The most a human body has ever sustained in any test ever in the history of the world is 83 Gs. At 200 miles an hour, he's at 270 Gs. He's pudding. What? Deader than dead. He's completely gone. At 400 miles an hour, which is really a more realistic number for his weight and his speed and the height that he was at, he's less than pudding. He's ultra dead. He would be a puddle of gel inside the suit. There's nothing left. Straight liquefied and leak out of the suit. So it doesn't really matter. This completely busts every impact that Iron Man sustains and lives through in every movie ever, because that type of impact is not possible for human bodies to sustain, or anything to sustain. At a cellular level, you are ripped apart. You're disintegrated. When he takes on the tank, he's missed by the main mortar round from the tank, and then he fires his rocket launcher at the tank. And is it possible to blow a tank up with that? Well, if you look at modern anti-tank weapons, you have the AT-4 and Javelin and all of these different kinds of weapons, and I mean, look at how big these rounds are, and then when they hit a tank, they look like this. I mean, that's an incredible amount of destruction from a huge warhead. He fires a finger-sized missile at a tank, and the whole thing blows up worse than those tanks did from AT-4s and Javelins and all of that kind of thing. So realistically, could you fire a small little rocket at a tank and blow it up the way that he just did? No, it could not happen. But they say on Reddit that he fired at a weak spot in the tank, penetrated through the armor into the inside of the tank, and when his rocket exploded, it set off the munitions inside the tank and blew it up. You know how much chemical energy it takes to blow up a tank? Is it feasible? Sure. We'll let Iron Man have this one. How could you ever expect to build something that's actually Iron Man? Well, you can't. The laws of physics say that you can't build Iron Man. Since when have laws ever stopped anyone from doing anything? It's kind of like with cars. You have 3 different things that you can do with a car. You can go cheap, you can go fast, or you can go reliable. You're allowed to pick 2, and that's it. You can be fast and cheap, but it's not going to be reliable. You can be reliable and fast, but it's not going to be cheap. You see how this works? With Iron Man, there's more things involved. You have to be light and resilient and powerful and have insane weapons, but size matters for those, and then it matters with weight, and then you couldn't get shot by anything, or you wouldn't be able to be mobile if you had enough armor. There's tons of limiting factors with the real Iron Man suit. It's a lot. So I'm going to build a piece of Iron Man, but I'm going to ignore certain aspects of what is necessary to build a realistic Iron Man suit, and I'm just going to build something that looks awesome and functions exactly like Iron Man's suit does, hopefully. And we'll see how it turns out in the end. So when he lifts up his arm and shoots that tank, he has a little system where the rocket launcher pops up and he shoots the tank. I'm gonna build that, and it's going to work exactly the same. It won't function exactly the same because it won't be able to blow up a modern tank, but it's gonna look identical, it's gonna function identical, and I guess it would offer some level of protection because you have something on your arm, but you definitely won't be able to get shot in the forearm with it. So, next video. Rocket building and testing to see if you can actually fire a rocket that small out of a space that small and have it actually fly somewhere that you want it to. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to catch the rest of this build series. It's gonna be great, but I may have bitten off more than I can chew. Thanks for watching.
Back from the dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're all invited.
Iron Man's fake. We all know it. Let's build it anyway.